Hello everyone, and welcome to 4Panel, the Geek Show's dedicated comics and manga podcast. I'm your host, Andrew, and as per usual, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Rob.
Hello.
And Mick.
Howdy.
How are we doing today?
Howdy.
Howdy. I thought I'd mix it up a bit, you know. I've been on a few episodes now. I thought I'd change things around. Variety is the spice of life, especially when you've been looking at the same four walls for 6 weeks.
I think we need to send help, Andrew.
I can't. I'm physically incapable of doing anything at the moment. I've got a new job.
Oh, congratulations.
Which also requires that I go in and do like 8 days training.
Congratulations, Andrew.
During the lockdown, yes.
Cool.
Okay, so let me rephrase that to congratulations, I think.
Yes, congratulations with a heavy question mark after it. But anyway, light-hearted banter achieved. Tick. Onto comics and manga.
So who's going first?
I can go first. Trust me, I can go first.
I mean, would you like to go first?
Well, I was waiting for some kind of affirmation from other people. I mean, I wasn't just going to steam in.
Okay.
Okay, so I've been reading Strike Force, Trust Me.
Should we really?
No, you shouldn't trust me, but the name of the comic is Trust Me.
This is going to get really confusing, isn't it?
Only because I'm working with you, Rob. So, Strike Force is a new sort of team, and it consists of Blade, Angela, Spectrum, the Winter Soldier, Spider-Woman, Wiccan, and Hellstrom. And one of the best things about it is the bios that each of them gets.
Mm.
Blade, Eric, aka Eric Brooks, half man, half vampire, occasional Avenger, constant badass. Angela, Asgardian princess, stolen from the cradle, raised as an angelic assassin. Her ribbons will beat you up. Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman. Childhood experiments gave her spidery superpowers, including pheromone manipulation. Now a superhero and a mom. Didn't need a man to get pregnant? Certainly doesn't need you.
I like it.
I do. Quick question. Are spiders known for their pheromone manipulation powers?
No, no, they're not. They're also not known for their, what was the blasts that she fires from her hands?
I mean, spiders have venom. She has venom blasts. It's kind of the same thing, but lasers.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, is a thing as close to scientifically accurate as you can get in a comic book.
Yep.
And then you've got Monica Rambeau, a.k.a. Spectrum, turns into any form of energy along the electromagnetic spectrum. Once led the Avengers. Don't give a shit about it. Billy Kaplan, a.k.a. Wiccan, dream child of the Scarlet Witch and the Vision. Destined to someday become the sentient life force of the universe. Currently still figuring out how to do his laundry.
Yeah, that sounds like him.
He's a whiny little bitch, isn't he?
Well, he is a teenager.
Listen, I've known teenagers.
I don't know if he is a teenager. I think he's like a lot of comic characters, is in that nebulous, 18 to 22 range.
Oh, yeah.
That's a tweenager. Anyway, this is written by Tiny Howard, Gemma Peralta and Jacopo Camagni are the artists.
Sorry, Tiny Howard is a great name.
It is. Whereas the writer of Spider-Man Velocity is just hopeless.
I like that song that Elton John did about just the Hold Me Closer, Tiny Howard.
Jeez, get me off this podcast now. Where's my agent? So, Strike Force has a bit of an odd start. It starts off with us seeing the team stealing some Ebola virus and other dangerous viruses from a top secret lab at an undisclosed location somewhere in the United States. Probably one of those labs where they test whether injecting disinfectant into people works. Anyway, the alarms have all gone off at this secret base. There's panic everywhere. And the Avengers turn up to sort it all out. And who do they find? Ready to be arrested? They find the Winter Soldier, Angela, Spectrum, Spider-Woman, Wiccan, and
The way you say Wiccan just makes it sound like you're some angry parent going, Wiccan!
Wiccan! I imagine that any adult that talks to Wiccan sounds like an angry parent. Anyway, they get rounded up, they get put under arrest because, why not? And then Blade busts them out and takes them on a mission without telling the Avengers.
So Blade busts a move, does he?
He does. The action then transfers over to Indonesia, where they fight off some evil fae called the Vridai. No one should put a consonant after a V. That's just wrong.
Yeah, of all the many bad things the Vikings did, that was definitely the worst.
Yeah. Anyway, these are shadow creatures that have the ability to take on the forms of others, and they exist in Svartalheim, which I think is just down the A37. Turn left at Midgard, and you should just be able to find it from there. But there's a whole thing going on. Blade kills Damien Hellstrom.
What, again?
Sorry?
Again? How many times has Damien Hellstrom died now?
Comics.
Yeah, I know.
But it's all right because they get a phone call from Satana saying, my brother's just turned up and he's acting weird. So they go to Las Vegas to Second Hell, the club that they both run. And it's quite an interesting story where nobody knows, because it's comic books, it's very difficult to actually give little tells as to who might be the real person and who's the Vridai clone copy. And ultimately they find that the whole plan is being forged from this base of Dr. Doom's, who was the first victim of the Vridai.
Hang on. So you're saying that not only does Doom have Doombots that are copies of Doom, but now there are more copies of Doom?
Well, no. They're trying, the Vridai have captured Doom, and yes, they do send out copies of Doom to try and attack people. Sometimes they send out copies of Doombots to attack people.
But how do they know they've got the actual Dr. Doom?
Well, that's an important plot point.
Also, surely they just send out Doombots. Like, you don't get an evil elf shapeshifter to pretend to be the robot duplicate of Dr. Doom, and then you send that out.
No, they do. I mean, there are millions of these things.
It's like a double Scooby-Doo.
It is. But the thing is, it's a pretty good story, and then you have this bit where they're a bit like the Vashta Narada from that library episode of Doctor Who. Once you know they're there, they can attack you. Okay? And so they get inside your head, and so they all start remembering their first encounter with the Vridai. Even though, as Angela, who's the only person who's heard of them prior to this adventure, points out, they've put the memories there. Which kind of makes sense when you're reading the Jessica Drew one, where it's her baby that's the Vridai that she's encountered before. But it is a rip-roaring story right up to the end of issue 4, where they've got the Lord of the Vridai unconscious in a coma where he's been put by his governess. They've got a fight going on with Ghost. And then you have this massive revelationary cliffhanger. And then it just stops and they go off and have a little clash with Moonstone, who's doing experiments. Hence the fight with Ghost, who's working for Moonstone. And so you get to the end of the trade paperback. You've had a cracking 4-issue story for what is effectively the inaugural mission of Strike Force. And they haven't even agreed on the name because Blade just yells it as they go into battle. And Angela goes, oh, we've got a team name now, have we? So their inaugural mission doesn't finish, and then they start off on another adventure, which also isn't finished by the end of issue 5. So, unusually, in my recent run of Marvels, I've got a really satisfying new team with only a marginal reference to the War of the Realms at the very beginning. And I'm left disappointed, wanting more, but feeling that I shouldn't need to want more. I feel issue 5 should have wrapped up that main story. But enjoyable for what there was.
Okay. I think we're going to have to read this.
Mm.
It sounds a bit next wavy, only not as madcap.
If I knew what Next Wave was. Andrew's gone into aeroplane mode.
Yeah, it's that kind of day where it's actual points of disagreement are too hard.
I was just saying that with Monica Rambeau and the character introductions and stuff like that, Next Wave is much more madcap than...
I must admit, I had low expectations going into this, because with the exception of Blade, who obviously we know from comics and movies of the past, the rest all seem like they're spin-offs from other comics.
Hey, that's not fair. I'll have you know that Spider-Woman is not a cheap Spider-Man spin-off. She's a completely and wholly original character who was invented because Marvel realized they were going to run out on the trademark on the name Spider-Woman.
But this is the thing, you know. If this was one of the many, many comic book hero TV shows that were coming to a streaming service near you in the next 18 months to 2 years,
Yeah.
you'd think, oh, they've gone with Angela because they can't afford the rights to Thor. They've gone with Spectrum because they can't afford Captain Marvel. They've gone with the Winter Soldier because they can't afford Captain America. They've gone with Spider-Woman because they can't afford Spider-Man. And they've gone with Wiccan because they need a whiny teenager.
The funny thing is, Monica Rambeau was Captain Marvel for a bit.
In the comics, I'm not reading into all the different continuity.
No. So when you say they couldn't afford Captain Marvel, so they got Spectrum, it actually works.
And Damon Helmstrom, I guess they've put in there because they couldn't afford Doctor Strange. I don't know.
No, I thought that's why they put Wiccan in there.
Well, I think the idea is that those two combine to become a Sorcerer Supreme between them. But that's the thing. I looked at it and I thought, oh, this is a B-list comic. And actually, the story's a really good one. And you've got cameos from other characters throughout. I mean, Patsy Walker makes a bit of an appearance in one of the flashbacks. Obviously, the Avengers, comprising Black Panther, Iron Man, Ghost Rider, and She-Hulk, turn up to do the original arrest. So there's plenty of links back to what you might consider more A-list Marvel heroes. And that's why I expected a sort of Marvel B-movie. And I didn't get that. I got a really good story. I just wish they'd finished one of them.
Okay.
I'll happily look forward to whatever the trade paperback is called that combines the rest of that storyline. But it is really good. The way that the Verdai are trying to insinuate themselves into the various groups of heroes that are taking them on, it really plays on that idea of trust, and especially with Spider-Woman, because it harks back to a period where she was impersonated by a Skrull that did a lot of bad stuff, and there were a lot of trust issues about her activities at the time. So it plays with that, and it messes with that. And then you've got characters that nobody trusts, like Satana, and actually she turns out to be more trustworthy than almost everybody else in the room. So
well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, for the most part at least.
Yeah, just the ending. I wish it had had one.
Much like how this review doesn't have one. Rob, you say things now.
Okay. I'm going to go for my first pick with a Jeff Lemire outing called Berserker Unbound, and this is written by Jeff Lemire with art by Mike Deodato Jr., colours by Frank Martin, letters by Steve Wands, and cover and chapter breaks by Mike Deodato Jr. and Frank Martin. And the cover has a guy standing on what looks to be a busy New York City street, which is, not New York City streets at the moment, but this one looks like a New York City street with loads of traffic, and he's there, and he's standing in the middle of all the cars, looking completely lost because he is wearing furry codpiece, a dragon-headed belt, carrying a giant sword and a giant axe on his furry cloak, and he has rippling muscles. He is basically a Conan copycat, and he is standing there wondering what the hell's going on. That guy just happens to be a king sort of thing. He is the mongrel king, the berserker. Fighting is all he knows. He was born into it, and he will die by the sword. But what does he fight for? That's actually the introduction on the page to him. This is very Conan-esque in how it starts. The artwork's really good throughout this. You have this guy who basically is wandering from one place to another. They call him the Mongrel King because he is one of the lower social classes, and the rich are the ones who call him the Mongrel King, and he comes home after some time away to find that his wife and his daughter and his entire village have been slaughtered by these wolf-headed warriors, or wolf-head-wearing warriors. They wear wolf head dresses, so I'm assuming they're, the enemy. So anyway, there is a sorcerer behind them who wants the berserker dead, yada yada yada, and so the berserker fights them all, kills most of them, and stumbles into a cave where he gets transported to modern America before passing out, and then gets poked with a stick by a homeless man who becomes his friend. And so the berserker is in modern America, doesn't know where he is, doesn't know how he got there. This is only volume 1, but I will say it's intriguing because it does hark back to a lot of the old Conan stories. Not so much the modern Conan ones, but the old ones by Robert E. Howard and that. But with that whole otherworldly twist by introducing this friendship between the berserker and this homeless man. They both had a lot of life experience, very different life experience, but a lot of life experience. Their lives are very, very different. Their language is very different, but somehow they manage to communicate with each other. They both understand what it's like to lose the people that you love in, horrible ways. Even though they're very, very different, they're both kind of standing in the same place. Even with the communication barrier, they become friends, and it's because they can kind of understand each other. They can kind of understand what each other's saying. And as his only friend in this world, when the homeless old guy gets attacked, the berserker obviously comes to defend him. But that's reciprocated as well. I'm not going to say how, because this is only the first volume, and it does get very, very interesting towards the end, and I really want to know what happens next. This is one that I'm actually going to continue reading because, well, number one, I like Jeff Lemire. He does some really interesting stuff. And Berserker Unbound, I like this whole idea of crossing worlds and crossing cultures and crossing languages. Interesting things happen when you have two complete opposites mixing and mingling and clashing and, arguing. That's when interesting stories happen. So yeah, Berserker Unbound, I recommend it. Actually, this and Sword Daughter would make a great combo.
It's also weird, though, because it does almost sound like a late 80s comedy starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
Yeah, it does, actually. It really does. Or Masters of the Universe. Dolph Lundgren, Masters of the Universe.
Oh, you had to bring that up, didn't you? I'd forgotten that existed.
So, Andrew, over to you.
Yep, so I have been reading volumes 1 and 2 of Drifting Dragons by Taku Kuwabara.
Yeah, this one, I have opinions on this one, but I'm not going to say them. This is your review.
Yeah, so it is a series with, I thought it was quite an interesting fantasy setup, in that it's a world where dragons exist, and it's following the crew of an airship whose job it is to hunt down the dragons and stop them from damaging, local villages and such like.
Yep.
But it's just the dragons are shaped in a certain way.
Yep.
And the methods the crew use to hunt them down are somewhat familiar.
To anyone who's
But Rob,
yeah?
is this a manga that endorses whale hunting?
Basically,
It sure seems like a manga that endorses whale hunting.
Basically, yeah. Now you understand why I have issues with this manga, because the first time I read it, it was recommended to me, and someone said, "Oh, read this." I went, "Okay, the artwork looks interesting," and then there was there's basically it might as well be called Moby Dick.
I mean, I guess apart from the fact that they're not like hunting a singular.
Yeah, aside from that,
dragon.
but I mean, all of the whale hunting paraphernalia is there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like they even specifically do the thing of like just sticking loads of harpoons in the dragons.
Yep.
I think the problem is it's one of those things where like people might want to try and just brush it off as, oh well, no, he's drawing from like a real life thing to just add a bit of flavor to the manga. But I think it's one of those things. It becomes a work that has a message just by making that comparison. And especially that's a bit of a problem when you're a Japanese author and Japan is one of the few countries that is just outright, nah, screw you and you're making whale hunting illegal, we're just going to do it anyway.
Like I said, the artwork was nice, but the actual story, the depictions of them capturing the dragons.
Yeah, and especially there's a bit where like the main character, whose name I don't remember, and I do not care to look it up. He's like, they've got like stun rifles they can use.
Yeah.
That would, take the dragon down quicker, but he's like, no, we need to prolong its suffering so it tastes better. And that's just portrayed as like, oh, he's so wacky and he likes to eat his dragon food. Whales are gonna go extinct, Taku. Don't write shit like this. Anyway, apart from it being like incredibly problematic, I don't think it's that interesting. Lots of the characters seem very stock tropey. Like, even the main character is obsessed with food. Each chapter ends with like a little recipe of what he's cooking up. That's been done before, right? I definitely feel like I've seen it in things, or at least like heard you talk about similar things, Rob.
Oh, Dungeon Meshi. Delicious in Dungeon, they call it in English. Yeah, that's one of them. But that one has a completely different message to this Drifting Dragons. That one is just...
Yeah, but I just mean in the sense of...
Yeah.
It just, apart from the message, it creates the sense of, yeah, this just feels very samey to lots of similar fantasy manga.
Well, I mean, you've got loads of food-based manga now, and you've got loads of manga where you have characters who are obsessed with food. There's one really well-known one where the guy solves crimes with ramen, or rather, he's like a detective who eats ramen all the time, and he solves crimes while eating a bowl of ramen.
Oh, Mick, I remember being in your position.
Yeah.
Back in those good old days where Rob would tell me about a manga and I'd go, that's insane, Rob. That can't possibly exist.
The thing is, there are some that make sense. There's Restaurant to Another World, which is basically what I call food porn, where it's like loving descriptions of different types of food from our world, but are being served in a restaurant in a fantasy world. That sort of thing. They did the anime version of it, and people just started gorging themselves on food because of it. But
I should watch that. Then I would have an excuse.
Yeah, you would actually. But then you've got others like that where they actually go into the actual production of food.
But anyway, this is kind of drifting off topic.
Yeah.
See what I do there, because it's Drifting Dragons. You don't deserve that level of joke. Actually, no, that is the level of joke this manga deserves. Anyway, I think like part of the specific problem is as well, it's the fact in this that it's positioned where like the dragons are dangerous monsters that need to be hunted.
Yeah, but at no point...
And so it makes like the dragon hunters in the position of being heroic. And like it draws that parallel to, well, it makes it look like whale hunters are heroic.
Yeah. And
not criminals who are like demonstrably driving a species to extinction.
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean,
what's that Japanese government? There's no science to support it. Maybe the fact that there are no fucking whales anymore. Maybe that's the science that supports it, you morons.
Do you know what annoys me about this manga the most, though? They're trying to say that these dragons are dangerous and everything like that, but, right, in your typical fantasy story, if you have a dangerous dragon, it goes around eating people, and you see it eating people, and it's shown that it's eating people, yeah? It's shown that it's destroying castles and kidnapping princesses and all sorts of stuff like that, sitting on a hoard of gold. Smaug in The Hobbit is an obvious, he's not an evil dragon, but he's just a dragon, yeah?
I mean, he's not great, is he?
He's not great, he's definitely not good.
He's not a dragon you could take home to meet your mum.
Well, you never know. Some people like the bad boys.
Well, it depends how big your front door is, really.
But you see what I mean? But I didn't see any of that in the first few stories of this manga. I didn't see any.
Yeah. Well, like, literally, the first story is they get attacked by a dragon, and its villainous motivation is that the crew murdered its child.
Exactly.
Which, Jesus H. Christ, drifting dragons.
Do you see what I mean?
I think maybe your protagonists are the bad guys.
Yeah, they are.
Freaking Tiger King the manga.
Oh, God. It is. It really is. Oh. Shall we...
Anyway, I'm certainly not going to top that if we want to move on.
So it's back to me, is it?
Yep.
Right, I'm done.
Oh, that was easy.
Yeah, I went into speedster mode.
Oh.
If you slow...
It was velocity.
Yeah, if you slow the podcast down, listeners, you'll hear a full and frank review of Spider-Man Velocity. I suppose I better do one at normal speed delay.
See, I keep expecting you to say Velociraptor for some reason. I don't know.
That would have made it so much more fun.
What if, though, to balance it out, you do this review in super slow-mo?
No.
This is Spider-Man.
No, I take it. I don't like it.
So this is Spider-Man Velocity by Dennis Hopeless Hallam, Emilio Liso, and colour by Rochelle Rosenberg. Letters are by VC's Travis Lanham. And this is another one in the Gamerverse series, following on from the hit video game. And I think it also needs to be subtitled Marvel Wants a Flash Comic.
Okay. They could just do a Quicksilver comic.
Exactly right. They could.
Yeah, but no one likes Quicksilver, though, is the thing.
Well, it depends which version of Quicksilver. I mean, if it's the version of Quicksilver from the X-Men movie where he first appeared, where he's just running around.
Oh, yeah. I always forget that there's a version of Quicksilver that's, like, my favourite character.
Yeah. If it's that version of Quicksilver, I'd be happy to read comics about him.
Okay, but what if every comic, it's actually just like Dark Phoenix, where he's in it for about 5 minutes and then gets his leg broken?
Oh, God, no.
I'll come back to why I think it feels like it's a Flash comic.
I just want to clarify, by Flash, you mean Flash the character, not Flash the program?
Well, yes, because Flash wouldn't be a comic. That would be a program.
And by Flash the character, you mean runs fast, not or Thompson.
Or opens his big coat.
I mean the Flash, Barry Allen, who is, brackets, one of, brackets, the fastest man alive. That's who I mean, just to clarify, okay? It starts off with Spider-Man having a fairly normal, quippy battle against Swarm.
The Nazi made of bees.
Yeah, for no apparent reason other than he just happens to be the villain who's kicking off at the moment.
But also, so this is set in the same universe as the game.
Yeah.
And is this like proper Swarm is just a man made of bees?
Well, no, this seems to be more of a man who can control bees, because he seems to have quite a robotic suit on.
Yeah, I guess it feels more like in line with the enemies in that game.
What happens is all these stingy bees kind of find a way through Spider-Man's suit. And who knew? you get a flash of his spider pants, by which I mean boxer shorts that have got teeny weeny little spiders on.
Okay.
Oh, that is one of the unlockable outfits in the game.
Is it really?
Yeah, you can just swing around in Spider-Man's boxer shorts.
Yep.
And of course, the best thing you can do is find Uncle Ben's grave and take a selfie in your Spidey underoos.
Do you get an achievement for that? Oh no, it's trophies on the PS4, isn't it?
Now, I think if there was a way to get an anti-trophy, I feel like you would get it for doing that.
Anyway, all this is just a catalyst to take us into the main plot, which is Spidey creating himself a new suit. Meanwhile, MJ is working with Ben Urich on a story involving ghostly attacks. And obviously, she goes and she tells Peter about the ghosts, and he scoffs because science, and she gets upset because ghosts. And Spidey comes up with some new armour, which gives him the ability to be really fast.
Okay. When you say really fast,
Yeah. I mean, not slow.
I mean, like on a scale of 1 to Flash.
Well, this is it. It turns out that the ghost attacks are being done by someone who is the daughter of someone who died in an Oscorp experiment, who had super speed.
Quicksilver had a daughter?
No. Because that wasn't Oscorp experiments, was it?
Is it the daughter of Marvel's most inappropriately named superhero / supervillain, the Wizard?
Oh, God. I forgot about the Wizard.
And
He's
his
not-
bright yellow costume.
Yeah.
He's not named with any kind of superhero moniker.
Did her dad have a bright yellow costume?
Her dad was only seen in flashbacks in a hospital bed in an Oscorp lab, where apparently he died. There is no link, as far as this issue goes, to any known or unknown superheroes or supervillains. Just a man who... Because I guess, if you think about how many superheroes and supervillains occurred because of irresponsible laboratory experiments at places like Oscorp and various laboratory facilities, there's going to be a huge number of people who just got experimented on and it failed or it killed them.
It's that Simpsons sketch, isn't it, where they're doing the health check at the nuclear power plant, and Dr. Hibbert's there and says to the guy, "You've been exposed to impossible amounts of gamma radiation." He's like, "Does that mean I'm going to turn into a big green rage monster?" He goes, "No, you're just going to get radiation sickness and die."
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. So anyway, in his new super suit, Spidey realizes that this girl is this ghost that's been attacking people. And he sort of takes her under his wing. And the reason it reminds me of a Flash thing is because, every season in The Flash, there's at least one showdown where he races really fast against a rival Flash.
Yeah, and sometimes he's not fast enough, so he has to go even faster.
That's right. That's what this is. And sometimes he has to find a cheeky way of nobbling the faster speedster. And that's basically what the big set piece in this trade paperback is.
Do you think there's a series of The Flash where he just smacks someone in the knee with a hammer?
Hang on, does he Dark Phoenix the enemy?
So, it's a little bit more enjoyable than the previous story in this that I read, the City at War. But it does feel like Spider-Man in just name, really. It feels more like it's a team-up between Flash and Kid Flash, or Flash and Nora. What was she called? Excess, when she turned up in the show.
Nora?
Nora West Allen.
Oh, right. I don't know why, but for some reason my brain went to Nora Batty. I was thinking, Nora Batty?
Now,
Who's
Nora
in
Dark I could have understood, but Nora Batty?
From Last of the Summer Wine?
That's two universes that should never meet, isn't it?
I mean, look, they've got a top crisis on Infinite Earth somehow.
So that's Spider-Man Velocity number 1 to 5. A more promising entry in the Gamerverse, but did feel like an episode of The Flash.
Also, I probably should point out, so the Velocity suit, that is another unlockable suit in the Spider-Man game.
Is it?
Yeah, so it's not just like a completely random thing that they've thrown in.
All right. Well, you see, as an Xbox user, I wouldn't know.
So does that mean they're just making trade paperbacks of every unlockable suit you can get in the Spider-Man game?
Well, they're certainly doing a run of comics set in the Gamerverse.
But also specifically, like, that was a suit that they designed just for the game. So, like, a lot of them are suits from Spider-Man comics. Like the Spider-Man Noir suit.
Yeah.
But then they also threw in a couple that were just, like, new designs.
When the PS5 comes out, I'm going to take full advantage of the fact that there'll be a glut of really cheap PS4s on the market to just buy the Game of the Year edition of Spider-Man.
You should. It's a very good game.
Yes, it is.
It's the only game I've ever tried that has made me think about having a PlayStation.
That's pretty gosh darn impressive.
Yeah.
Just also impressive.
What?
The fact that I pulled up my next book ready to do, but actually it's Rob's turn.
Yes, it is. You're taking my speed.
This is a new definition of the word impressive that I'd previously been unaware of.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of this version of impressive. You guys might remember the cover of this particular book. This is Silver Surfer Black, but the cover in particular made it look like the Silver Surfer was basically putting on a latex glove for some kind of orifice search.
Silver Surfer, colon,
Patrol.
open bracket, don't, close bracket, smell the glove.
Basically, yeah. So this is by Donny Cates, with art by Tradmore, colours by Dave Stewart, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. The covers are by Tradmore and Felipe Sobrero. It's a story that's set after Thanos gets killed by Progeny. Who is Progeny, you ask? I don't know, nor do I care.
It was Gamora.
Yes. It's set after Thanos' funeral when the Black Order...
Asterix, Guardians of the Galaxy, issue 1.
Yes.
I'm doing my own editor's notes.
It's alright, keep them in. It's like director's commentary here. When the Black Order launch a weapon to cast all of the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy into a black hole, and the Silver Surfer is helping to get them out, what kind of... I was like, whoa, wow. After the first page where it says 1, and you got the Silver Surfer with his black latex glove type thing, you have these big pages, these big pieces of art, very stylized in the way that we expect from the Silver Surfer these days. And then you get to the 4th page, and like, where are my eyes being drawn? No, that's not, no. Because there's this big page which is supposed to represent the inside of a black hole with Cosmic Ghost Rider's chains helping everybody stay together so they don't all die in the black hole. And Silver Surfer, right, imagine the camera is pointing up and then someone is at that point stepping over the camera so the camera is focused right on their crotch. That's the shot that they took for this 4th page. That's the thing that's drawn on this 4th page. And your eye is literally drawn to where the Silver Surfer's crotch would be if he had one. So...
Sometimes I forget that Rob's just a very tall 5-year-old.
It's very, very difficult to miss this picture, alright? You immediately look at it and you go, whoa, no, let's move on. So anyway, eventually all of them get rescued. He manages to rescue them all. But then he embarks on his own adventure of dying inside a black hole, which leads him to a place where he meets the Marvel's current enemy of this particular phase of Marvel Comics.
Just say Marvel's favourite enemy. Donny Cates' favourite enemy.
Well, yeah, Donny Cates' favourite enemy, but, you know, he seems to be appearing in a lot of... Well, actually, it's all Donny Cates' stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, but that is the common denominator beyond, like, all of Null's appearances.
Yeah, I mean...
Also, by the way, it's Null, the god of the symbiotes.
Yeah, or the god of the dark as he is in this, and he appears wearing these ornate boots, this chest plate with a red scorpion on it. These pauldron...
Well, it's like the Venom symbol, isn't it? But red.
Yeah, with a tail and 8 legs.
I mean, spiders have some of those things.
It does look more like a
Look, it's the
scorpion.
things that everyone knows about spiders. 8 legs, a long tail, thermal control powers, can fire laser blasts.
Run really fast.
Yeah. Anyway,
Exactly, just your basic spider facts.
I'm a bit confused by the design of Null in this, because Null is wearing these boots that have, you know, the flared knee things that go up to a point, yeah, that you see in fantasy drawings? Got those. Got the big pauldrons over thin arms, and a chest plate that flares out into a definite mini-skirt dress type thing. He's basically wearing a dress. So I don't know if Null is male or female, and I don't think it matters. Anyway, Norrin Radd is fighting Null, and he gets to help out another primordial creature, because Norrin Radd somehow has managed to go backwards or forwards or sideways in time. It's never quite clear. All we know is that at some point...
No, that he's gone back to like the beginning of the universe.
Yeah, but that's the thing. He's gone back to the beginning of the universe, but then it talks about how he made Null bleed, in which that's the reason why the symbiotes hate him. But then it kind of says, okay, this is the time when that happens, but no, it's not the time when that happens. Do you see what I mean? Which is why I'm confused.
I don't think what he's saying is, in like the present day, the symbiotes have like an irrational hatred of the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, because he made that
and
god
this is
bleed.
him working out because he went back in time for their god.
Right, okay.
And
So
they've all grown up hating him.
right, so this is the time when he makes him bleed. But he doesn't.
Yes.
He blows up the
I'm
dragon.
going to watch Primer at some point, Robin. It is going to ruin your mind.
I've seen it.
I say that. I'm talking a bit dumb. I didn't understand Primer.
I've seen it, but then again, I grew up watching Quantum Leap, and that just was nuts. But anyway, you have a whole cast of characters who appear. You have Shalabal who appears. You have Ego, the Living Planet. Even Galactus makes an appearance, and Uatu, the Watcher. The Silver Surfer is basically, it's very colourful. It's very, I really like the art style of this, because it really is a throwback to, the old, really weird, cosmic, trippy Silver Surfer from, like, the 80s and the 70s.
Yeah, and I feel like there's quite a lot of kind of, like, European comics influence in there as well.
Yeah.
Like a lot of sort of, like, Valerian and Lorelei type stuff.
Yeah.
Wait, no, not. What's it? Yeah, Lorelei.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's so much colour in this and it's as if the whole idea of space, it's not black. There's all sorts in there. You just don't see it. And I really like that idea. I really like the artwork.
It's like it's a metaphor.
Yes. And do you know what I also like about this? I like the morality in it. I like the fact that the Silver Surfer is struggling with all the stuff he's done in the past. And he's, I think this version of the Silver Surfer is probably one of the more interesting characters that's in Marvel at the moment. In a very real way, it's kind of the antithesis of the Immortal Hulk, in that the Silver Surfer is really questioning the reason for his existence. He wants to be forgiven. He's trying to find a way to be forgiven, but he knows that he's basically stood by while billions of lives have been extinguished, and he's been a party to that. He's led the Devourer of Worlds to that, and then stood by and watched while it happened. And he knows that there's a part of him that'll never be forgiven, and it's kind of how he's coming to terms with all that, and how he's learning to cope with all that guilt, because he does carry a lot of guilt. How he's tried to be a hero, and how he's tried to do the right thing since he broke free from Galactus, but also the fact that the Shadow of Galactus will never ever leave him because he is a creation of Galactus. And that makes him such an interesting character.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically like why the Silver Surfer is one of my favourites.
This version of the Silver Surfer, definitely, it really is a really interesting version of the Silver Surfer, and I highly recommend Silver Surfer Black. I'll be honest, I didn't read any of the Guardian stuff going into this, but just knowing the Silver Surfer as I do, I didn't feel the need to read any of the Guardian stuff because this wasn't about them.
I feel like it works fairly well on its own.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of breeze past the why and the wherefores of how the Silver Surfer ended up in a black hole.
Yeah, that's it. But it explains it all at the beginning anyway. So you just basically move on past it and you end up with this really fascinating character study.
Also, he has a bit where he turns his board into just a big old sword.
Yeah, and fights Null. He turns his board into a corkscrew to drill into a planet.
It's a good comic.
His board is basically a Swiss Army board, isn't it?
Wait,
He
no.
bought it from JML.
Swiss cheese board? No, that's not anything at all, is it?
It is. It's a cheese board.
Yeah.
Consisting primarily of Swiss cheeses.
Wait!
I think you're probably going.
Speaking of bizarre non sequiturs, is it time for my final review?
Yes. So
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go with smorgasbord.
God damn it! I was right there. I'm genuinely quite upset that I didn't think of that. You've ruined my day, Rob.
I'm sorry.
Speaking of, so my last book that I've read is Hodorowski and Book's Twisted Tales. This is another Humanoids offering, written by, show favourite, Alejandro Hodorowski, with art by Francois Bouche, or Bouc, or Bouchy. I don't know. I forgot to look at how you pronounce his name.
I don't know, but if it's Bouche, isn't that French for mouse?
Oh no, that would be easy. This is Boucq.
Book.
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 He's a scouser. He's written a book.
Actually, technically, he's drawed a book.
He's drawn a book.
So this is is it a collection of, I suppose, short stories, but more sort of parables. Yeah, that's probably the best word for them. But it's basically just like, a story that's a couple of sentences long, accompanied by a picture. Each one trying to get across. So I guess sort of a story with a message. Like some of them have quite clear messages. Some more just seem to be like slightly wacky. Like to read the one that's featured on the blurb of the book. Carmen and Juan formed a couple of infinite kindness. Childless, but with great love of animals, the couple took to adopting all stray dogs that came their way. Soon there were 100. One beautiful day, the married couple, crippled with debt, could no longer feed neither themselves nor the kennel. They thus fasted. The dogs, starving and furious, devoured Carmen and Juan. Like that's clearly meant to be some kind of little story about not overreaching yourself, like kind of helping in ways that are going to be sustainable long term.
Yeah.
Another one is, you know that riddle about, like, who makes a thing but never uses it, buys it but doesn't see it. It's a coffin. Basically that, but from the perspective of a really depressed coffin.
Okay.
Because like, no one ever wants them. And then it's a picture of a coffin with a noose tied around it.
See, that just sounds like it'd make a good t-shirt.
It is. But it is. You know what, actually? The whole would make a good t-shirt thing is an apt comparison. Because I feel like a lot of these stories are like an amusing t-shirt. They kind of just look at it and go, oh, that's pretty funny. And
You
then,
don't need an entire comic book.
yeah. But yeah, it's just, it's fine. Some of the stories are pretty amusing. Some of them are very on the nose. Like one about a group of pirates. Yeah, the pirates They departed, disappointed in not having found any treasure inside the chest, without realizing that the empty chest itself was the treasure. You know, that kind of...
So this is called Twisted Tales, not Tales of the Bleeding Obvious.
Yeah, exactly. It's that very kind of fortune cookie style wisdom.
See, it's a shame because I thought you were going to say Tales of the Unexpected, because at least you could have done the theme tune.
Well, no, because I also used to call that Tales of the Bleeding Obvious as well.
Oh, yeah, true. Well, it was, wasn't it?
Also, I'm not allowed to do the theme tune because it does involve setting a woman on fire, and apparently that's frowned upon these days.
Bloody political correctness gone mad is what it is.
That's why there's never been a reboot, you know.
Well, it's just like some ancient bylaw that the show cannot be done without the burning of a woman.
Yeah.
It's weird that they did that for every episode, though. I think they just record it the once.
Well, the problem was, as we know from all the lost episodes of TV from the 60s and 70s, storage was at a premium, so you couldn't have all those tapes. So you couldn't have a taped copy of just a title sequence. You had to make your title sequence fresh every week.
Ah, of course. Using an old episode of Doctor Who to record over.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sorry, my brain just went, what if there was like a market stall where they could buy title sequences? Get your title sequences, 4 pence a pound.
Some guy with a big trench coat. Hey, want to buy some title sequences?
Yeah.
But basically, that's what title sequences in the 70s were for the most part, weren't it?
Exactly.
You went down the market and bought a blackboard with the name of your show chalked on it in a different font.
Yeah.
Anyway, Twisted Tales. Yeah, this would be like, I don't know, like a book of poems or essays or whatever, and these had been sprinkled in. I think I would have quite enjoyed it. But it's just all of these things which are like a few lines of text and then an image. It just feels a bit unsubstantial.
It sounds like it's trying very hard and failing to be Aesop's Fables.
See, to me, it feels like it's Hodorowski and Book coming up with like a great scam to get paid for doing very little work and selling it off as, oh no, it's all about like artistic expression.
So that means it's your perfect book then, Andrew.
It's about the literary power of brevity.
It's your perfect book then, isn't it? It's the type of book that if you were going to be an author, you would write. I'm pretty sure of it.
Oh, definitely.
Right. So, efficiency.
Yeah, speaking of efficiency, I guess that's us at the end of the show.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Oh, is it me doing it?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I usually do it now, don't I? Look, change is difficult and scary. I don't like it. So, thanks for listening to the show. If you want to find more of us, you can find us at thegeekshow.co.uk or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook, and I think we're on Instagram.
Yes, we are.
Just at TGS_The_Geek_Show. And if you like our shows and want to help us continue to do what we love, why not donate to our Patreon? Just Patreon The Geek Show. Or, if you don't want to donate financially, I know, it's a trying time for all of us, maybe just leave us a review on your podcast app of choice. That is a big help to getting us out there as well. So, I think that's everything for this week. Until next time, I've been Andrew.
I've been Rob.
And I've been Meg.
So long, and thanks for listening.